Welcome to BUSSIN. Today, we're gonna be bussin'. Right now, I'm sitting on top of my personal bus, which is my workshop. Over here to my right, your left, is the bus that I'm gonna be building. Over here to my right is another school bus. This one, I'm gonna be building into a dirt bike hauler. It has a wheelchair lift in the back, and hopefully, we're gonna be able to turn that into a motorcycle lift. The conversion process has a lot of parts, the first of which is demolition. First thing we gotta do is take out the seats. Then we disassembled them cushion from the frame. We threw away most of the cushions and then recycled all the steel frames. Then we had to remove all the trim around the flooring and through the aisleway. After that, we had to remove the 3 heaters. And that's kind of a complicated process because the heaters run off the same coolant system as the engine. So if you mess up the heaters, you mess up the engine. So what I did was just cut both lines at the front of the bus and then looped it back around. This bus also came with roof racks, so we had to disassemble those, but we're going to keep them because we're going to implement them not only into my bus, but also that bus. And then a few screws here and there. The windows have little bolts on the inside that have to get taken out. And demolition's done. Next step is the subfloor. I'm going to be using 4x8 OBS. Most school buses average between 7.5 to 7 3/4 feet, and 2 pieces of OBS is 8 feet wide. So I had to trim a couple inches off of one side of them and then put them side by side. I have to cut the gaps for the wheel wells, which is where the tires intrude through the flooring into the main compartment of the bus. And that's something you can't remove, so the best way to deal with it is to build a box around each wheel well, which I'll get to later. So that bus is 36 feet long. The rear 30 feet is all pretty easy. It's just cut the wood, put it into place, and then cut the gaps for the wheel wells. But the front of the bus is a lot more complicated. The cuts are more intricate because not only do you have to compensate for the stairs, the engine bay, and 2 more wheel wells, but if you cut it in one piece and you mess any part of that one piece up, you gotta start over. Which is exactly what happened with me. The first time I tried to transfer angles and measurements just onto the plywood. And it wasn't too off, but it wasn't good enough for me to keep. So I had to scrap that and start over. The second time I traced the cuts onto painter's paper and then transferred that onto the OBS. Oh yeah! And it f***ing fit perfect. The last step is just to screw all the pieces of plywood down and to fill the gaps. And that's all for episode 1. Tune in next time when we're going to be working on the framing and the insulation. If you have any tips, tricks, or questions, leave them in the comments below. If you'd like to help out a small business, leave a like. My name is Nader, and I've been bussin'. Whoa. I could have sworn I said subscribe.